Happy morning, friends. Here's yours, Dr. Ajanta. Welcome to day 35 session. Today we are just going to discuss about two things. One is about the function global keyword and next user defined function. So let me just see what is the global keyword. See, actually, before just going to know, so we have already seen about what is the global, local, and non-local variables yesterday's session. So kindly have a view or a review, have a review, and then come to here. And this global keywords allows you to modify the variable outside of the current scope. So it is used to create a global variable and make changes to the variable in a local context. And there are certain set of rules are that to use the global keyword. That is actually when we create a variable inside a function, it is local by default. But when we define a variable outside of a function, it is global by default. So you don't have to use global keyword that when it on outside. And we use global keyword to read and write a global variable inside a function. So use of global keyword outside a function has no effect. And let me just see it with the examples. Kindly have a look of this, dear friend. See, actually, here in the example one, we are using a variable that is a, and we are just defining a value as 1, and here a function is defined add, and we utilize that variable which is global, and we are accessing it. And see here, dear friends, when we just make use of that global variable inside our function, here it means the local, but even though here we are not using any global keyword. However, we may have some scenarios where we need to modify the global variable from inside a function. Exactly. See here, we just got the exact output. However, we may have some scenarios where without making use of that global keyword. Okay, here I just show you one more thing. See the same example here. A is equal to 1, which is a global variable. Here we are changing, that is modifying the value of the global variable inside the function. So kindly have a look of this in example 2, where we just modify the global variable inside the function. Okay, and to be surprised, we just get the error. Yeah, this is because we can only access the global variable but cannot modify it from inside the function. If you want to make use of that, we have to use the keyword global. Okay, now the same, let me just change the same example to with a global keyword. Okay. Here we are just using that a is equal to 0, and here we are just making use of that same variable a, global key variable a, and with the global keyword. And kindly have a look of this. We have just made us two thing to be observed. One is inside add, what is the a value, and in the main, what is the a value. So both the things we are just making it. And kindly have a look of this, dear friends. See, after this add, so we are just calling, see, actually a is equal to 0. That is the first, that is the first statement. That is, we define a as a global variable. And when on just calling the add function, it just goes on to this defined functional thing, and it just make use of the global keyword. And we need, then we increment the variable a by a by 3. So that is after we call the add function, finally we print the global variable a here. Okay, and next one we also make use of the same thing. that is outside the function. And see here, dear friends, after using this, it just changed. That is the value of a is modified outside the function also. It is updated. The exact function is already done. Okay, fine. Let me just see one more example where we don't use global keyword to access the global variable in the function. Okay, so let me just have it without the global keyword. So here global variable is equal to 9. Okay, and print, we are having three functions. One is function 1, function 2, function 3. When on just calling this, each and every time it just move, that is go to the exact cursor of to that function, defined function 1, function 2, function 3, and it just print the exact value of the global variable which is locally to that function. Okay, and see here, dear friends, as you can see here, the function 1, it just doesn't do anything, but here in function 2, here this global variable as a new variable which is just seems to be as like local variable. To solve here, we are not using any keyword, and sometimes here if we just want to make use of anything to be changed, you have to be, it would be updated outside if we use the global keyword here. Okay, let I just execute this. So on execution, see here, so my function 1, it just execute the value of global variable as 9, and when it just goes for the function 2, here it just shows the global variable as 999, and it just comes out of the function 2. And when I'm just going the calling of this function 3, again it's been the value as 9, where global variable which is declared outside the function is 9. Okay, now the same example which we just make it as exercise 3 and used in cell 4, let we make use of the global keyword and we make use of it. Okay, fine. Kindly have a look of this, dear friends. See here, x is equal to 9. This is the exact global variable, and let me just define the first function, function 1, and we just print it here. And in the function 2, here we are using the global x and modifying the value of x is equal to 999. Now, for your information, here the global x value itself is updated, that is modified. Okay, and now when you just call the same x in the function 3, and kindly have a look of this, the executed output, it is 999. This is how the exact function of this global keyword uses. Okay, next, variable, global variable access across Python models. See, actually, we can create a single module. Here, we are just making, let me just make config.py to hold the exact global variable and share information across Python modules with the same, let me just make use of the same program. Okay, so what are all the things here is how we can share global variable across the Python modules. That is what we are just going to see here. And when on making use of, see, when we run the main Python py, that is file, the output would be a is equal to 10. See here, first it just been a is equal to 0, b is equal to empty, and after the main, if it is updated, okay, and it would just update the value of a as 10 and value of b as alphabet. And see here, dear friends, we are having just three files. One is config, update, and main. Okay, so the module config.py stores global variables of A and B, and in the update file, we import the config.py module and modify the value of A and B. Similarly, in the main also, we import both config A and update A. Okay, config file and update module. Okay, finally we print the test variable. Okay, test the values of global variable whether they are changed or not. So that is how when on just running this to the main, our updated would be 10 and alphabet. Okay, let me just see it with an example, dear friends. Kindly have a look of this one. See here, in this function, we are having, so, okay, we declared a global variable inside a nested function. Here, we are just having a global variable inside the nested function day, and which is inside a fun function. Okay, so this x has no effect of the global keyword here. In this function, this x is equal to 30, it is not much more doing that, but when just coming to this global x, it is just making an impact that this global, when on making this x, it is updated to 66. And see here, dear friends, before and after calling the day function, the variable x takes the value of local variable, that is 30, and outside the function, the variable x will value that is defined in the day, inside this, it would be 66. Okay, so this is because we have used global keyword in x to create global variable inside the day function, which is the local scope for this. And we make any changes inside the day function, the changes appears the outside also, that is the local scope, which is after this. And kindly have a look of it. Let I just execute this, dear friends. See, before calling, okay, the function, it is 30, and calling bar function now, and after this, that is after calling this, see here, the calling function now, it is we are just going to have, after calling bar function, it is 30, and again x is main function, it is 66. Even though we, after making this definition, that is the global x is equal to 66, even though it is outside the function, it is the x value is updated 66 after the day function. Okay, dear friends, let me just make use of this user-defined function in the next slides. Okay, and I just want to tell you, dear friends, actually by using this user-defined function, we are just going to make functionality in the coming sessions. So kindly have a note of it. What are user-defined functions in Python? See, functions that we define ourselves to do certain specific tasks are referred as user-defined functions. Okay, so actually the way in which we define a call functions in Python, which are already discussed, as like the same here, but functions that readily come with Python are called built-in functions. If we use functions written by others in the form of library, it can be termed as library function, and all the other function that we write on our own fall, it is you under user defined function. So our user defined function could be a library function to someone else, and there are few more advantages over this. That is, what are the advantages of using this user defined function is, the first one, user defined function help to decompose a large program into small segments, which makes program easy to understand, maintain and debug. Next, if we repeated code occurs in a program, function can be used to include those codes and execute when needed by calling that function. And last but not least is actually programmers working on large project can divide the workload by making different functions. Okay, so let me just see it with an example. See here, dear friends, we are having a function which is saying my addition. Okay, and this actually here we define the function my addition, which adds two numbers and returns the result. And this is our user defined function. We could have multiple two numbers inside our functions. It's all up to us whether it can be addition, subtraction. So actually we have already seen some examples onto this user defined functions also, but I just want to just share some main information regarding to the advantages and the functionality. And see here, dear friends, but this operation would not be consistent with the name of the function. It would create ambiguity. So it is always good idea to name function according to the task. Okay, here what is the thing is it just going to get two different numbers from the user. And see here, whatever you are just getting the number, it has to be in float or it would convert it into float. So here typecasting has been specified. So this exact functionality is mainly for the summation of two float number. That is addition of two float number. Okay, here I just have commented some two numbers. Okay, so kindly have a look of it. That is the first number, let it be 9.3, and second number is 6.9. Okay, what would be the result? What would be the result? Yeah, you would just have been seen as it can be 6.20. And kindly have a look of it. It is 200000003. How come this comes is according to the float, it has to be in this numbers. That is 15 to 17 decimal is allowable. Okay, so that's for all the day, dear friends. Kindly have a note of this function because we are just going to use it in coming sessions of Python functions. Okay, any informations or any doubts, you can just comment it below, and let me just get clarified as early as possible. Thank you, dear friends. Have a nice day.